Day 2 of the African National Congress's Lekgotla, that's underway with the ANC's top leaders and officials conveying to tackle the country's most pressing challenges as the party seeks to regain the public's trust and support. All eyes are on that Lekgotla's outcomes. What key decisions and announcement will emerge from today's discussions? Let's bring in SABC News senior political reporter Samekele Maseko, who joins us live from where that Lekgotla is taking place. Samekele, good morning to you. So the ANC president in his opening address yesterday, that Cyril Ramokgopa, spoke about implementing the ANC's policies within this GNU. What did he say?
Indeed, Griselda, the president of the ANC spoke about implementing ANC policies unashamedly and unapologetically within the government of national unity, having signed the expropriation bill as an act of law to the dismay of the Democratic Alliance. They have now since tried to invoke, or saying they are going to invoke section or clause 19 of the statement of intent, where they will express their displeasure. This is a hot potato for the Democratic Alliance, but essentially the president of the ANC in his opening address also spoke on a matter of urgency that a year ago at an ANC NEC Lekgotla, they tossed Dr. Ramokgopa, the minister then of electricity, now of electricity and energy, more powers, that he has to resolve the energy crisis within the country. The nation has now enjoyed over 310 days without any shred of load shedding. I am going to bring him in now. Mr. Ramokgopa, just the essence of the president of the ANC in the opening address. You've just come back from Davos now at the World Economic Forum. Electricity crisis relatively resolved. He says the same vigor and oomph must now be used to resolve the water crisis. What are some of the main points that you are going to be taking into the commissions when it comes to the power utility, Eskom, and electricity?
Thank you very much, Samekele, and good morning to the viewers at home. Now we're going to exert ourselves in resolving the load reduction problem in the country. I mean, it's unacceptable that there are parts of the country that are experiencing hours in the day without electricity, I mean, the celebration of the kind of progress we are making on the load shedding front, there's no meaning to them. So one of the conversations that are happening is a laser focus on the resolution of load reduction. And I'm confident that the proposals we are making here are going to find expression. They are going to find traction in the cabinet Lekgotla, and I'll be able to announce to the country we are going to resolve load reduction with the same effort and vigor that we have applied in addressing the load shedding question in the country.
In the opening address, your president spoke on this issue of load reduction. You also spoke about it at the World Economic Forum in an interview you had with our colleague Tsapo Mongai. What are some of the proposals that are there within the commission on this particular issue of load reduction?
So first, we are committed for what I refer to electricity for all. It's got three elements. So the first one is resolving load reduction. We need to work with municipalities. In many instances, there are issues around illegal connections, so we must formalize those connections and make sure that these are safe connections, improve the distribution and reticulation infrastructure, meter these people, and ensure that those that are qualifying for free basic electricity, they get to receive that. And then the second one is around the extension of free basic electricity. Like I say, make sure that everyone that is deserving is able to get that. And then the third element is to use non-conventional or innovative ways of ensuring that we get electricity to people, such as microgrid. Then work with municipalities to capacitate the electricity department without usurping or take over the function of electricity reticulation, because as they are revenue earner, and in so doing you are resolving the entire complex. But in the short term, everyone needs to get electricity, and I make that commitment publicly that we are going to resolve it.
At the World Economic Forum, what are some of the issues that are raised, particularly by business? I saw the CEO of Glencore praising yourself and the Minister of Finance and Trade and Industry, Park Star. What are some of the issues that the business fraternity was raising at the World Economic Forum, particularly when it comes to South Africa's energy security?
Well, the issue of affordability. Electricity is very expensive. It's very expensive for an average person, very expensive for business. It makes their products uncompetitive. So we're trying to design a way of ensuring that electricity going into the future is affordable. The exponential tariff increases that we are seeing cannot be sustained. And I want to repeat the point I made previously. The application of 36% tariff increase won't see the light of day. I'm confident that we will not see those proportions of increases. I'm confident that the work that we have done, submissions made to NERSA, will suggest that the electricity increases will be significantly lower than that. But still, it is an increase. It is an inflationary impact on the South African economy, impacting the poor disproportionately, the ability of business to produce competitively. So it's something that requires our attention, and that's why the energy mix is important. The solutions, the kind of energy solutions that are powering your demand or your generations are important, and the release of the IRP in that context is important. And I did say that before the first quarter of this year, before end of March, we would have gone out with the IRP, we'll publish it, we have done extensive consultation. So I'm confident that the affordability question is going to receive attention so that we are able to produce competitively and we ease the pressure on average households.
The ANC has been debating this issue of nuclear for a while now. Koeberg is back on stream. One of the units that was offline is back on stream. You had gazetted went out on tender for the building of a new nuclear power station at a scale and affordability that South Africa can afford, which was 2,500 megawatts. How far are you with that process of re-gazetting that particular tender to procure a new nuclear power station, and where are you looking for that nuclear power station to be situated?
Oh, absolutely correct. Samekele, at the policy level, nuclear is part of the mix, and we know that at a global level we're able to establish at Davos that we are having now projects that are under construction on the nuclear front significantly higher than in any part of period of our history. So nuclear is making a comeback. As part of this, I'm announcing a panel of internationally renowned nuclear experts and scientists to help us on the pace and scale, just to articulate that, and then we'll be able to re-gazette it. Remember, it's just the credibility of the process itself. It's not about the technology. The technology is well established. What has soiled this process is the credibility of the process. So I'm cleaning the process, re-gazette, and make sure that we are able to benefit from the mix. So it's not a binary conversation. It's not one technology over the other, but it's, if you like, the balance of the technologies that our economy can afford. And I'm confident that once that panel is in place, we'll be able to advise on the process, the extent, the scale, and also the financing of that program going forward.
Where are these experts coming from?
Oh, from all over the globe. That's very, very important. All over the globe, but anchored by South African local experts. I'll announce that, but you'll see it's all over the globe, and we're not taking from vendor countries. By that I mean those countries that are likely going to bid. So I'm talking of South Korea, I'm talking of France, I'm talking of Russia, I'm talking of BRICS, India, I'm talking of China. They will not be coming from those countries because we don't want, again, to distort the credibility of the process. So I'm confident that we are going to get it right, Samekele.
So essentially you are saying that some of the countries that may bid to build this nuclear power station that South Africa hopes to build in the near future will be coming mainly from the BRICS establishment of nations. Oh,
it's established. I mean, there's just 5 countries that have got the ability to respond to this. So it's India, it's China, it's Russia, it's France outside the BRICS, and then it's America. There's no one outside that. So we know it's going to come from these 5. So it's about the pricing, it's about the technology, and these experts won't be coming from any of these 5 countries, so that there's no an insinuation of biasness, and then we are able to roll it. So on the nuclear front, we know it's just 5 countries that have the capability to respond when we go out.
Your time frame in building this nuclear power station?
Oh no, let me announce the panel, and then they'll be able to advise me. It's a long-winded process. I mean, you know the nature of nuclear. I'm talking about from procurement to getting the megawatts on the grid, anything between 5 to 10 years. But it's important that you build for the future. Part of the problem why we are experiencing this crisis is that there was stop-start. So it's important that we are very consistent in going out and getting the necessary megawatts.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ramokgopa. That is the Minister of Electricity within the country, Dr. Ramokgopa. There are vehicles of the Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa and also Deputy President of the ANC, Paul Mashatile. He will be arriving any moment from now. We do also know that the Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, he is arriving at this point in time. We will also try and doorstop him. We will just, Criselda, wait for the arrival of Paul Mashatile, the Deputy President of the African National Congress, who did address the ANC's January 8 rally yesterday in Paris, where our colleague Aphumelele Mdlalane was at, where he spoke about Dean McPherson, the Minister of Public Works within the country, who did say that he would not be implementing the Expropriation Act that has been signed to law by President Cyril Ramokgopa. He essentially has now put in those battles alongside himself and the Deputy Minister Sihle Zikalala, who has escalated the matter to President Cyril Ramokgopa on this issue. In fact, that is an issue where the Deputy President yesterday said that if Dean McPherson does not want to implement the laws of this country, he must effectively resign from his position as the Minister of Public Works within the country. Fikile Mbalula, the Secretary General of the ANC, also yesterday saying that he will not take a hardline stance, but he will say that they will engage with the minister, with the Democratic Alliance on this particular matter. As you can see, the Deputy President of the ANC, Paul Mashatile, arriving there. We unfortunately won't go to him for that particular doorstop. There is the Premier of Gauteng as well, Panyaza Lesufi, arriving, where they will be discussing issues of governance, water provision within the country, particularly in the municipalities of where the ANC largely governs. There is a huge shortage of water provision within those municipalities. The President of the ANC in the opening address, Criselda, did speak that they must implement and resolve the issue of water provision with the same vigor that they have done in trying to resolve the issue of load shedding within the country.
Well, Samekele, as you correctly point out there, with the arrival of Paul Mashatile, yesterday stern remarks that he had made regarding those who don't want to implement this act, that they should actually resign if they don't want to implement. But, you know, I just want to keep you a little bit longer, Samekele. You know, with the DA, of course, in that press conference, basically saying it's going to invoke Section 19 of the Statement of Intent, what did the ANC have to say about that?
Fikile Mbalula says it would be rather interesting on what the Democratic Alliance will have to say when it invokes that particular clause 19 of the Statement of Intent. You know, the ANC's position and understanding of this particular clause 19 is different from that of the Democratic Alliance, and both political formations do not want to move from this particular issue. The DA went as far as saying that they feel as if they are being treated as guests by President Cyril Ramokgopa in the government of national unity. Their voices are not heard. As you've seen, the ANC has implemented the National Health Insurance. They've fully implemented the Bella Act, which went through the clearinghouse after clause 4 and 5 were put on hold until consultations were effectively done. The expropriation bill has now been signed as an act of law, to the dismay of the Democratic Alliance, which they say that will tamper with the private property relations within the country that they are unhappy about. You also saw Dean McPherson saying that the type of arrogance they are seeing from the ANC is what is dismayed by the ANC's Deputy President Paul Mashatile when he spoke in Paris, saying that if he does not implement an act of law of this country, he must simply resign and leave the government, because their ministers serve at the behest of the president, serve at the behest of their political formation. That is not currently in the constitution of South Africa. It says ministers serve at the behest of the president. The president can decide whenever to relieve them from their duties, as we don't have a political party system currently in place when it comes to the election of a president. But we do have members of parliament who elect the president, and political formations then exist in the electioneering period. But once it comes to governance, mainly members of parliament are sworn in their individual capacities, but they are responsible by their political formations, who can decide to recall them or not to recall them. But it is not we don't vote for a president directly within the country, and that is some of the issues that political parties are particularly plagued with at this point in time, and which sees the election of a president being done by members of parliament. And thus the Democratic Alliance feels as if they are particularly not being valued by the ANC when it comes to the government of national unity. And also, there was a question that was asked by one colleague yesterday, who asked that these critical portfolios that the Democratic Alliance currently holds, such as public works, it is not the ANC that decided to give them those particular portfolios. It is portfolios that the Democratic Alliance asked for. In fact, the DA was even asking for trade and industry, where Minister Park Stow is currently at, and the ANC was unwilling to give up that particular ministry, but gave them public works. But public works is where this particular expropriation act has to be implemented, which sees Dean McPherson as the minister refusing to implement this particular act of law. But his deputy, Sihle Zikalala, has welcomed this particular act and says it must be fully implemented.
Samekele, I don't know if next to you did mention that Panyaza Lesufi was due to arrive any moment now. It will be very interesting to hear what he has to say. So much happening within the ANC, talking about that word reconfiguration. And I don't know if around you, no, it doesn't look like. Okay, it doesn't. I see your smile. So I guess he has not arrived yet.
Panyaza Lesufi has, Criselda, arrived.
There you go, go for him.
He has gone in.
Go. Oh, has he gone in?
He has gone in. We did try, he's not gone in now. He went in earlier when we were, I didn't see, when we were still speaking to Dr. Jose and Ramokgopa.
Oh, I
saw him essentially just as he had gone in. It was too late to go and doorstop him. But during the course of the day, we will definitely try and get him, as that all-important ANC officials meeting takes place tomorrow morning around 11:12 to deliberate on what is a reconfiguration. But in my little understanding of the ANC constitution, particularly section 12, subsection 12.2.4, it speaks about a suspension of a structure, and a PEC, an REC, a BEC for a period of 3 months. It goes further to say that it must come back after that 3 months, or there is an option of dissolution, which ultimately means disbanding. And reconfiguration within the terms and regulations of the ANC constitution would mean the structures would have to be dissolved first and then reconfigured with interim structures, which would be provincial task teams.